be offensive.
Why can't we be offensive?
Why can't
we? We can. It's entirely a tactical thing I'm talking about. I don't. Okay, so at Berkeley there was this. I called him the Golem. He was this huge Russian guy who walked around with a Israeli flag on and a big, huge Megillah.
I was appalled by it, but I loved that he felt like he could do that.
Like a honest.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what he was. I mean, I never talked to him, but I was thrilled that he felt that he could do that, even though I found it like distasteful. But yeah, to what you're saying, no, we have a right to do it. I'm not talking about what we can and can't do. I'm talking about strategically what would have the greatest effect on campus. You know, I go to Israel in the Gardens, which is our birthday of Israel in San Francisco every year, and I try and talk to all the people I know. Don't stand out there and wave your flag right in front of the protesters, because we have thousands of people walking by us. It's smack in the center of downtown. Thousands of people are walking by. And you know what's going on? They see the crazy Jews with flags yelling at these people who are silently protesting in front of us, because the anti-Israel protesters know much better how to present something that is more appealing to the undecideds than we do. We get upset, understandably, when we really should be saying, you know what, I don't care what the guy's saying. I'm concerned, though, if that guy over there across the street is listening to him. So we should be thinking about what we can do to at least sever that tie between those two, or commandeer that conversation. Because I think we're right. I mean, I think most people know that actually defending the position that the most virulent anti-Israelists have is very difficult with a reasonable person. Defending Israel with a reasonable person is really not that difficult. It's simply explaining what the situation in Israel has been in. Unfortunately, you can't do that when you're simply screaming at a Muslim Student Association member or women in black or whatever it is. Anybody else?
Actually, excuse me for this, but I got a comment, a suggestion, then a question.
Go for it.
My first comment is, I myself did my doctorate only a few years ago, and I was a bit of a Frankenstein myself. So I really hope you finish, and I cannot wait to read your dissertation, number one. Suggestion. You mentioned before in social science, a 44-to-1 ratio from left to right.
Yeah.
I'm curious, my area of social science is actually criminology. So I spend most of my time either with other academics who've gone through the system like I have, or cops. And what's interesting is cops tend to pull to the right.
Yes, they do.
I would be very interested to see what your survey data says if you break it out from sociology to criminology.
Right. So in all of these, if you break it down, you can find pockets that are very different. And look, I mean, the numbers don't just hold up for social sciences. The numbers hold up for campuses by and large. Basically what you've got is, when we did our study, and there's other studies that have been done by Kaplan, I believe, essentially what we found is that the department with the most parity was 50-50, and that was business. You'd think that business would be like 70. If we're going to have 44-to-1 in one area, you should have, but you don't. So what you've essentially got on campus, the entire political spectrum is shifted leftward. Meaning also, when we polled faculty to get their political identification, how do they self-identify politically, it was overwhelmingly liberal. But at the same time, when we asked them who they voted for, the vast majority of moderates and some of the conservatives were voting Democrat, meaning that they were identifying as moderate because they weren't as left as the faculty member next door, but as compared to the general public, they were far left already. Did you have
just the last question was, I'm currently serving as an assistant dean of a criminal justice college. We are bringing a lot of students from all over the world in currently. We've developed MOUs with relationships in the Middle East and in Asia and all sorts of different places. If there's one thing that you could suggest that I bring back to my university that I tell them immediately to do, because I'm one of those who probably does think we don't have a problem. But I would and I'd like to think that's true, but I would very much not like one to raise its ugly head before I was aware of it.
Well, I think
what are the feelings?
Yeah, it sounds to me like you don't have, say, a faculty problem in your department, but like at any point you could have something that pops up. I'd say one of the things, and this comes from the Brooklyn meeting today also, is make sure that they know what the policy is for sponsorship and endorsement, meaning that if there's a student who wants to do something and they come to the criminology department or the social sciences department and they say, would you co-sponsor this? You may get somebody who doesn't know what co-sponsoring exactly means, or think it doesn't mean anything, and co-sponsor it, and the administration will be like, well, we don't really care about co-sponsorship, we only care about endorsements, or vice versa, who knows? They could have no idea what their policy is on it, and oftentimes they don't end up addressing what their policy is until after somebody's upset. So at the very least, I'll give you my card and we can talk, because I think if you're going to be going back there, I'd love to think about it a little bit more, but just off the top of my head, I think one of them is just say, listen, I know we don't have a problem, and this is something that's applicable to things that have nothing to do with the Middle East and Israel and Jews, is what's our policy on outside speakers coming in? How do we choose them? How do we vet them? And what do we do, who gets to, when it's sponsored by the university, what are we doing to make sure that the university is on the up and up in this? So whether that's providing security, because oftentimes in a lot of these events where you have an anti-Israel speaker brought by, say, the SJ, Students for Justice in Palestine, or Muslim Student Association, they provide their own security, which leads to a lot of problems, because if there's a uppity Jew in the audience that they don't want there, they'll get rid of them, and sometimes they will threaten them. Irvine had that problem for a long time. So at the very least that, I would say.
That was my alma mater, by the way.
Nice one. What'd you do there, man?
What?
What'd you do? You just left it in shambles? I would have missed Berkeley.
I've just organized an event which I would like to mention here later, but we're having an event at our